everyone. Welcome to episode 396, 4 away from 400. Bernie, here's looking at you. He looked a little confused this week when I caught him in the Sabbath school class with his kids. I'm like, you got a house for us, right? And he's like, yeah, no. So I think that plan is out. We need to move on. We have a month.
We need to move on. So again, if you're thinking about, like, maybe you've got a cool place at your place, we're happy to invade. Backyards, or a cool restaurant that would be,
Anybody know anyone that owns a restaurant where we could, kind of get an inside track? You know what I mean?
That.
Like, I know there's one in Forest City. It's not very big, though. That's the problem. So I'm just, maybe someone, if you know someone that's got a small little mom and pop shop even, and if there was a place we could scatter outdoors as well, that might be kind of fun. Bring a little business and have a little good food and
order some horse duvers.
I like horse duvers. It's been a long time since I've heard someone call it a horse duver, but
that took me a second to figure out what you're talking about there.
I saw the light
come on. For those of you who are still trying to figure it out, we're not going to say anything more about that.
No. If you don't know what a horse duver is at this point, then I don't know if there's any help.
You know what I could do? What could you do? I wonder if I should reach out to
Gelato Guy again?
No, because Gelato Guy is unfortunately,
sadly,
no longer in business, which is kind of what happens when you're not open. You're only open at random times. But anyway, no, there's a really cool vegan restaurant called V's Diner up in Castleberry, and I think it would be a perfect place because they have these big tables that we could put, and it's like one part of the restaurant is like an old 1950s diner setup. Like, it's really cool looking. And then they have another side that kind of you can have meeting stuff, and we could do that and people could come in. They have, I know I said the word vegan, but it is amazingly good food. Like, really, really, really good food. So
nice.
Okay. Is there any, like, a burger joint close that we could send someone off on a for any of the carnivores that maybe,
I'm just saying. It's just
give it a try.
Just don't count it out until you've tried it. I took a couple carnivores with me there, and they
thought it was pretty good.
Yeah,
well, I can.
I'm not a vegan type of person generally, but it was really good.
I always say if it tastes good, I don't care.
Probably the best fake chicken sandwich I've ever had.
Best fake chicken sandwich. Well, that's not an endorsement for the.
And they have Philly cheesesteak sandwiches. I mean, it's like diner food. They have an amazing.
I love diner food.
Macaroni, cheese, and chili, combo that's really good.
That sounds good too.
And,
all right.
And again, I wouldn't have thought, like, I'm not a macaroni and cheese person in the first place, and vegan would be even less. But I
thought you were from the South. How
can you not like? Are there people that don't like mac and cheese?
I'm one of them.
Wow.
I'm not generally that guy.
Okay, all right.
I will say there are some people. There are a few people who have figured out how to make it in a way that I'm like, okay, I can deal with this.
I actually like mine with bacon.
Okay.
Oh, bacon. Anyway, so I hope y'all are getting getting a little
vegan
bit of the vibe.
Bacon, right?
No.
Okay.
No. Me and Stripples have a love-hate relationship. I like them all right, but they don't love me. So I try to
treat you right.
No, they do not treat me right. So I try to avoid them at all costs. Right. But see, I heard from many of you this week in the hall text messages like, "Hey, you promised like what you guys the best food over Christmas." So we've kind of gotten into the start of the food. So I'll start. And the best thing I had all Christmas long, and I am a sucker for a sweet tooth and for my grandmother's baking. And so my wife took my grandma's recipe of what are known in the Schneider family as icebox cookies. You eat them frozen. They're basically butter, flour, and sugar rolled real thin with some chopped walnuts in them. And then while they're frozen, because they're easy, it's not going to hurt your teeth or anything, and you eat that with ice cream.
Okay.
So you take a little bowl of ice cream, and then it's a bite of cookie, it's a bite of ice cream, let it all go. If you ask my mother, she would tell you that butter pecan is the flavor that you should do it with. I say I haven't had a bad ice cream flavor that has ruined the cookie.
I feel like pralines and cream would be really good with that
pralines
too.
and cream is one of my favorites. So that or caramel cashew, something like that, though, because the nuts are already there.
Right.
And that is they're very finicky to make. But my wife surprised me this year and made a batch for me. And so I was
way to go, Heather.
Yeah, that was kind of like one of my Christmas presents.
That's nice.
And so that was a little walk down memory lane. You know, the good vibes from Grandma's kitchen and all that kind of stuff. So that was my favorite thing that I ate. Maybe until this morning, until Jeff brought those pastries. Like, wait, what?
Those were good too.
Oh, so good, so good. Melanie, what did you eat that was like the best thing, your favorite Christmas thing, or the best Christmas thing you ate this year?
Oh, well, we had an interesting Christmas because I had a sick husband. So I didn't even put brown sugar in our butternut squash. So it's kind of like I did make one of the 3 dishes I know how to make. My grandfather's fake meatballs. Ooh. And they're also, I figured out how to make them gluten-free. So they're gluten-free fake meatballs.
Were they good?
Oh, they're amazing.
I'd like to try some of those.
All right, I'll make some. I'll bring
them
in.
They're legitimately
Are
good.
They? Okay, because that's I'm all down. My aunt makes some. I don't think they're gluten free, but they're called Manhattan meatballs, and they're made with a little marmalade and some barbecue sauce. And,
oh wow!
Which I'm not usually a fan of, but they're really good. So I'm curious. I'm, All
right. Well, I don't know if I can go up against your aunt, but I'll try.
I'm gonna give them a
try. I'll bring some in.
All right.
So my daughter was home, and she makes the best chocolate chip cookies.
That's what you said.
I mean, they're just so good. So she made a batch for us, and he was happy. We did a non-traditional Christmas lunch. My kids wanted Dad's sub sandwiches. I'm known for making my sub sandwiches at our house. So that's
okay. So I got to get me an invite for that too, because
subs.
I'm all down for subs.
Do a baked. You put them in the oven with cheese melted on there. And, yeah, crispy.
Fancy.
Toasted, roasted.
Yeah, there you go, toasted. Then just secret spice blend, and away you go.
Yeah. Well, Heather has been making. I mentioned this, and I couldn't think of what it's called when you're making your sourdough loaves. And you do a sourdough starter, you have discard. That's what they call it. It's the discard. But then you can take that and you can just keep feeding it, and then there's always more. So she has figured out how to.
How is discard different from starter?
I don't know. Okay. Heather, if you're listening, 407-925-1607, podcast at wholelife.church. Or just let me know tonight so I can put it in show notes for next week. No, she's been making bread, but she, for some reason, Ellie wanted dinner rolls. And I don't know what it is. It's the same thing. I think you put a little yeast in the dinner rolls where you don't in the bread. But holy moly. Like, we have been eating these rolls, and Emily and Ellie both. And then if you toast them just a little bit to crisp the edges and put some, like it sounded a little bit like Ken when he started talking about this, the hoagie. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Oh, and I do have to say that Randy's daughter, Ellie, brought me some gluten-free peanut butter cookies. It has been forever since I've had peanut butter cookies.
Those weren't bad.
Those were good.
For a gluten-free cookie, I was pretty impressed.
Well, for those of us that can't tell the difference anymore.
That's right. You do. And
they were fabulous.
I have to admit, that's partially me. I have gotten used to it because it's just because Heather and Ellie really try, and Ellie specifically, really try to be gluten-free, because it's really a must for her, even though, you cheat from here and there, but it really is much better when she doesn't. So I agree. I've kind of gotten used to it too. It
reminds me, I made the best scrambled eggs I have ever made of my life yesterday, I think.
All right. What's the secret ingredient? Did you whip them?
Parmesan cheese.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I just did it a little bit differently than I have in the past, and I actually took Gordon Ramsay's advice, and I basically whipped up the eggs, and then I added the extra things in as they were scrambling instead of putting it into
when it's all just wet.
Yeah. Yeah, and they came out. Oh my word, they were so fluffy.
Yeah. Parmesan. The trick is to get them to whip at the right way and the right speed, and then I love eggs. Any way you can make an egg, pretty much, I'm down for 2 or 3.
Well, thank you for tuning in for the Whole Life Cooking Show.
That's it. This is your Christmas cooking edition. Even though this is really Happy New Year, this is the first podcast you're going to hear of the new year. It is Tuesday, and so I figured we'd get through that stuff, and then someone else said, hey, you said you were going to give us the stats, and I did say that, some of the stats that we've had for growth here at this podcast this year, but we didn't have time for during last week's second episode, because we did 2. Ken had a hard out, and we had really went kind of long on the first one, so we didn't get to it. So I'm going to go over these really quick. with the caveat that this is a huge thank you to you guys who are listening. I've heard a ton from you from text, email, and in person at church last couple of weeks because, of course, we had these RSS and hosting issues that started the second to last week in November and went through the whole month of December until the very end before it got fixed. And even with that, and if you were in church this past week, and on our website and on social media, you would have already seen the video that showed the growth. But in case you've missed it, This is Whole Life, the podcast you're listening to. In 2022, we had just almost 7,500 listeners. And in 2023, even given the month of December, which I don't think we made it more than 120, which is what we usually have more than that per episode by week 2 of it being released. So we lost a ton of ground in that month. We'll be making up for it now. But we had 13,400 listens. That was a 79% increase in listenership.
Wow.
Over the previous year. And speaking of grace, went up another almost 8% as well. So, and someone asked me, well, why did it go up? And I'm like, have you heard of Melanie Bachman? And so
there it is.
That's got to be it.
That's it.
I mean, that's the variable that's changed. So
right. Everything else had been the same. And so, we've tweaked a little bit here and there, but I think the addition of the often missed through the whole show since its inception was the female voice on a regular basis.
Well, and I have one of those. So
you do.
Here we are.
and we use it well. And then another bunch of you who I have heard from on our online, even those from first quarter to fourth quarter, we had about a 32% increase in people watching our services every week online. And many of you are the same people. So I'm guessing you guys are sharing the podcast. You're sharing, I see every week people are sharing the Facebook feed. People are sharing our website feed that has the online chat. And, that also comes back to the podcast because there's places on all of those outlets that you can reach out to the podcast with your questions. And then that was the last one was thank you for all the questions and the texts, the emails, and even just tuning into church. There are people tuning in every week from exotic locations across the country and even the globe and following with those questions, and the interaction just makes it feel like we're all doing this together, whether we're in person or whether we're online.
I love that y'all are hanging out with us. This is a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And for those of you in exotic locations, all it takes is 3 plane tickets, and we'll come to episode 400.
Oh, Ken has stumbled onto something big.
I'm just saying.
Yes. This is good. So, let us know.
I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, as I'm thinking about, maybe that's what we need to say is like we should have the listeners do write in and tell why we should come to their house and do the episode at their house.
Okay. I love it.
Well, if you have the room and the desire, we can bring food. I think we could do potluck style.
Although your bid will be more attractive if you're like making yummy food for us.
Your bid will be more attractive. I mean,
I'm just saying, Brandy.
I believe in being transparent. And I appreciate that, Ken, because it would be true. I mean, we have to bring food, or hey, we're gonna do like Italian sampler across the world, around the world, Italian sampler kind of thing.
And we're back to food.
In Sicily?
Okay.
In Sicily? Well, I mean, if we had to, my passport's up to date. You guys?
Yeah, definitely. I'm ready to go.
I'm good to go.
Okay, well, see.
I'm free to move about the world.
Well, yeah, don't limit it to country now. We passport, we will travel. That's good. Man, Sicily. I've always wanted to go to Sicily.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Why not? They got great coffee.
Jeff's been there.
I know. Well, we could take Jeff.
Yeah.
Make him come with us. All right. This week, we did our year-end review, and if you haven't seen the video yet, go to any of our social media outlets or the front page of the website. You'll find it there. And this year was pretty exciting, even though, it was weird a little. We all were submitting our things as staff members to, what happened in our ministries and in our areas here at the church. And so you just assume that, you look at your list and go, oh, that was good, this was good, or whatever. And then when the whole video comes out and you're like, wow, forgot about that. Ooh, forgot about that. And it was like, wow, we really did get a lot done this year. We got a lot accomplished and a lot of really cool things that were bigger and better than ever. Barn Party comes to mind. It was just out crazy. 3,000 plus hot dogs. That's nuts.
This is just a cool place. This is a cool place to be.
And so when we were doing that, and then Ken and I talked in between first and second service, and someone, I believe, what were the ones that the World Vision. Like, how did we not get World Vision into the video?
Yeah.
That was a massive mistake on my part. Massive.
And then we also did one other one to remember. We did GLS, Global Leadership Summit. We hosted that this year, we're going to do again this year, right, Ken?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been to a lot of conferences, and my ex and I'd been to GLS probably 3 or 4 years ago, maybe more. And it was good, but I was, okay, we're going to do it. I wasn't overly excited, but it really was a fun atmosphere here at Whole Life where we had a lot of people in the lobby that, between sessions, certain people need a break or someone might not be your cup of tea. So there was all these cool little conversations happening in the lobby and in between sessions and break times, and people that I haven't seen for a while from other churches that came. So it was a really cool thing. If you haven't tried it before, you might want to put that on your calendar for this year. Do we have a date for that yet, Ken? Do we know?
Yeah, there is a date, and if you'd asked me ahead of time,
if I would have asked, that was a big miss on my part.
It's sometime this summer,
but I will make sure to look that up, and that way we can get that on the events calendar. wholelife.church/events is where everything that's going to happen here will be, and let's see before. We have also, it didn't make it, but that wasn't really, it was an accomplishment, I think, but we have an assistant communication director coming on board here in a couple of
weeks.
Super excited.
We're so excited.
So for those of you who have been talking to me about all these great ideas, and wouldn't it be cool if we did this, and in many cases, it's like, we would love to do that. We've thought of it, but so hopefully this year will bring about many of those changes that we've been hoping to implement with an extra body to start putting more time together. So you'll be hearing about that in the upcoming weeks as well. So lots of cool stuff. But what was your favorite? Now, I didn't know what your plans were for the message, and so I wasn't expecting. I was kind of expecting. Obviously, a review was kind of in the title, but I didn't know you were going to go through each sermon series that we had. So, and I was trying to think back, and Ken kept saying, "Well, I don't know. Maybe this one's my favorite. Maybe this one's my favorite. Maybe this one's my favorite."
They're all my children. They're all my favorites.
So we had 9 total.
Okay.
Last year. And I'm looking, my laptop's in front of me, and I'm looking at the different wholelife.church/media. You can always go back and check any of those out. The sermon is in that series, and they're by series, and you see the artwork, pretty easy to find. And I'm trying to decide, because they're different, like Great Question is always a favorite.
Yep.
How do you not like the Voices of Whole Life? That's like my favorite time for podcasting time. That's like my favorite series because we get to meet and have new people on the podcast. So I absolutely love that. Mm-hmm. Holy Encounters was great. That gave us a chance to kind of see Melanie in her speaking capacity. Yeah. And that was super cool. That was one of my favorites. I was like, well, we're not going to top that. And then The Chosen, that's hot. That might be my favorite.
That's your favorite one?
Maybe because like one of my favorite episodes got chosen to be in The Chosen.
Got chosen.
Yeah, got chosen.
Got chosen.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And then, the 7 churches of Revelation, we had so much fun with that.
Yeah,
and
I think that was my favorite. I think.
It could have been. And honestly, from those of you that go to the website when you miss, we encourage you to go back and watch it if you missed it. I think that's where most of you go. And I've seen the numbers there, and 3 out of the top 5 in the last 6 months are all messages from the 7 churches of Revelation for people that watch it strictly on the website in our media library. Okay. So I think that might be the winner. So what does that tell us?
What were the other 2? You said 3 out of 5.
The other 2, one was Melanie's Holy Encounters. I want to say it was the middle. I think it was your middle message. You did 3, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it was the middle message. And I think the other one was, I have to go back and look. No, it was one of the Great Questions was the other one. Yeah. So I'm like, well, okay. So we like Revelation apparently. That was just interesting though. And I mean, it's not often that you get to go and dig into Revelation. And that was a lot of fun.
It was.
And then we did the game which
kind of worked.
That kind of worked. That was.
Thanks for your patience, everyone.
That was maybe one of those learning experiences that we can take into 2024. Like, well, the flesh was willing, but the execution was weak. You know,
technology was weak.
The code writing was weak.
That's right.
There was a lot of unanswered technology that said it was going to do one thing, but it totally did not come through the way we had thought. And so,
and then some of it got tired and stopped doing what it was
supposed to be doing in the first place.
So, yeah.
But overall, you guys were very kind and you were very patient with us, and know that we're going to probably throw a few more things at the wall, but and see what sticks, and hopefully with a little bit better execution. Though that's that's the goal. And so, anyway,
hopefully the next game we do will go more smoothly.
Yeah, hopefully it will connect.
Yeah, we hope it'll connect next.
Do we
game.
play games here?
Oh, we do.
We play games. Randy, we play games.
Isn't there a song about games? I'm trying to think. Maybe we should look into that. If we're going to have games.
Foolish Games? Is that the...
Oh, yeah.
Wicked Games.
Wicked Games.
There's Wicked Game. Wicked and then Alan Parsons Project. I feel like they have a song about games, but I can't put my finger on it. Anyway. Also, the other new thing that we did this year, which I really, again, we've mentioned a little bit, was the events calendar. And so I have seen more and more people and more traffic starting to head to that page. And you will find things that someone emailed Ken and was like, I see this event coming up, but there's no details. There's a little save the date placard. That's for you to just open up and put it in your, there's a little button right there that says add to your calendar. And so that's got the correct time and everything else. And I always try to make sure we know the time of it. We may not have all the details.
Time and address too, right?
Right, time and address. So that way it goes into your calendar. And if you're like me, you set a reminder for how long it takes to get there. So, you send me a week before, 2 days before, and then time to leave. That's my normal. So I would suggest it. I think it works really well.
Yeah.
But it's really one more piece that we're trying to make sure that you know well in advance. Like Church Retreat is already up there. Click it, add it to your calendar. The details on that will be coming soon because we're going to be opening up registration. Can you believe it? April.
April already. This year.
Mm-hmm.
Coming quick.
What else is coming up before April?
Easter.
Oh, that's right.
So have a movie night coming up on the 20th of January.
Yeah. And that's probably not on the calendar yet. So I've got some work to do this week.
And then we have our first downtown community concert, which is Black History Month concert on February 4th. And we have a guest speaker that weekend.
Man, I am behind. Behind that. I'm going to need to get the rest of those up this week. And that way you'll check back on Friday night. And then the newsletter was kind of slowly coming back to life after Jess left, and we had finding ways to get this all put back together and
to put it on life support.
Put it on life support and get it's short right now, but it is getting some information out there.
I'm really liking that 60-ish seconds with Ken. I have
heard good things about that.
That's a good addition.
Yeah, I have heard good things about that.
Maybe I should record this week's in this room while we're
doing it. We should do it right now.
Should I do it right now?
Do it right now.
Just do it.
Do we know? Do you have what you need?
You know what? I mean, let's just let people hear what it sounds like, how many takes it takes me to do this thing, and then they can kind of have an idea of it.
Awesome.
So maybe let's see if I can. So let's see here. I need to move the microphone and I can get around to Randy. There we go. Okay, there we are. So hang on. One of the big problems I always do is I take a picture of I do this perfect take,
and then it's
just a picture and not the video.
I'm not the only one that does that.
You're not the only one who does it.
Goodness.
So now I need to remind myself what I'm telling people about today. So I'm telling them about this coming week. We've got our inaugural church service for this year where we launch our theme for Connect, right?
And you're going to want to be on time, I think, this week. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Oh, what's
here, I'll actually start recording now and see if I can do it. Okay, so here we go, 3, 2. Hey there, everybody. You are getting a behind-the-scenes look at us recording the podcast. In fact, if you listen to the podcast, you already know I did this. It's so awesome. Anyway, so what's coming up this week at Whole Life? Why should you be tuning in or coming to church this week at Whole Life? Well, we've got our first service of the 2024 year, and we're kicking off our Connect theme this week. So that's going to happen. And you want to be on time to church services. Why? Because we're changing our church services around a little bit. I'll just let that be what I say about that. But the church services are going to be a little bit, we're doing a little bit a new format, trying that out. And so be sure to be on time. and be here for that. I also want to let you know that on the 20th of this month, we're going to be having a church social movie night that's going to be happening. So kind of put that on your calendar and get prepared. And by the way, as I'm recording this, it is January 2, and it is my 25th wedding anniversary with Rochelle. Woo-hoo! Thank you for putting up with me for 25 years, Rochelle. And thank you guys for putting up with me. Have a great week.
Excellent.
And there it is.
That's how it gets done.
I love this. It's the behind the scenes of the behind the scenes. That's
right?
the behind the scenes.
My
Yeah,
word.
I like it.
Doesn't get any better than that.
It's like a mirror that you can see yourself in 185 times until you get really small down the line.
Right.
That was a good feel for that, though. All right. Well, so I am definitely going to have to. Here's the problem. When Melanie and Randy don't meet, things don't make the events calendar. That's really how it is. We should meet. And we have been running up into Christmas. I felt like that week was one of the craziest that we've had, maybe 2 weeks before that. So we got a little bit behind. And again, said assistant that will be coming aboard will also help us keep those kinds of things in line and keep us up to date. Because the goal for that is to be out 3 months in advance, along with things like Church Retreat, which has been up there for at least 2 months already. So 6 months, a year, we don't care. We'd rather you have it, plan around it, because we want you there, because like Ken said this year, or excuse me, well, Ken said this last week, was that, how did you do this year? That was one of the things that we explored. How did you do? How did you feel things went with yourself, your profession, your walk with God? And maybe it didn't go like you thought it was going to go, or like you felt like it should go, but don't give up. Jesus is always there. Like we learned in the 23rd Psalms, he's not going to let you go. He's going to chase after you. And just, put one foot forward to making 2024 even better. And I just lost my train of thought. That was the point you were making was, help me out, Ken. Man, that was a good one. I had it all set up and then I got excited about it. And then I took one little detour to add one more piece and then I forgot. But
I hate that as I get older, that's exactly what happens.
It happens too much. And I didn't have it written down, but it was perfect. It was the perfect. Oh man, that's gonna bug the business out of me now, because it's what you finished with. That.
You'd like me to save you, but
it's.
I don't even remember what I said at the end of my.
What was the?
I gave people time to reflect on what they've learned over the last year and how they may have grown. But
you summarized it perfectly. And when you said it, I was going to write it. I mean, I was at second, and so I was going to actually, and I was going to do it this morning too. And I totally forgot when I was preparing to go back to the end. But it was a perfect summation of how you should look at it, how you should. Like, not to beat yourself up, knowing that it's going to be better. Jesus is going to continue to follow you.
Well, he did talk about the disciples and how Jesus called them and said, follow me in the beginning. And then after a whole long series of 3 years of mess ups, there you find Jesus at the beach with Peter.
With Peter, that was powerful.
After Peter denied him, and he's still saying, hey, follow me. Yeah. So I think that was a cool point that Ken made.
Yeah, well, it's not going to come to me, so that was wasted, unfortunately, because I don't remember. But man, it was so perfect.
Just goes back to what that story I told, that just because you can't remember doesn't mean it didn't nourish you in the moment.
That's right.
So.
There, that was another good one. Yeah, that was good. I just thought the whole thing for us to look back together at where, the kind of the challenge, we all knew that it was follow me, and then how'd it go, and ending with Peter and that journey. It felt good. Because it just felt like, if someone like Peter and the other disciples being with Jesus, if they got it wrong, well, yeah, we're gonna get it wrong too.
Yeah, and I really feel like the further I've gone, the more I really realize and value that just taking the time to stop and reflect on where you've been. And, it's like when you have small children and you look at the pictures that you had of them from a year before, and you're like, wow, they've changed so much in just a year. And you look back and you see that in our own lives. I think that sometimes we do ourselves a disservice that we don't take a moment to stop with regularity and just take a look and see how we've grown and the things that have happened. And, obviously you can look back on the year and go, oh, I didn't do what I want to do here. I made this mistake there. I did that. But there's also, usually there's also areas that you've really grown in that you're doing better than you used to be doing. And it's really worth taking a moment to stop and say, thank you, Jesus, for that growth in my life. And you know what? It is okay for me to, buy myself an ice cream and celebrate that I'm doing better in this area that I've wanted to do better in. And, if I hadn't taken the time to stop and reflect on it, I would have felt like I was, maybe I've done a little bit better, or maybe I'm just stagnant. But if you take it and go, wow, look at where I was a year ago, look at where I am now. And I just think that's a really worthwhile thing to do. It's really worthwhile to stop and think, okay, what went right this last year? What went wrong? Why did it go right? Why did it go wrong? What can I learn from those things to next year so that I can make sure that the things go right, and the things that went wrong, maybe there's some things we can do to change that around so it doesn't happen again next year.
I felt like it was a good reminder and a good way to end everything for this year, just because of where we've been with the 23rd Psalm. And there was we had a lot of people really kind of pouring their hearts out in the chat every week on the online worship team and the online worship host, and those of us that are in that chat pretty regularly. There was a lot of people that were resonating with, man, I feel seen now because I realize I'm not the only person. And then the things that we were sharing on the podcast. So I really felt like just taking that time, though, it's such, I don't know, it's the thing that it seems foreign to just be like, all right, well, I guess I'll sit down and reflect. I mean, ain't nobody got no time for that. Who's going to sit down and reflect? But even the couple minutes that we took in the service, it was meaningful to just stop and think. And there was a lot of people sitting in the front row, which I'm sure you heard it too. There's a lot of amen. There's a lot of yep. So you hear those people resonating with finding themselves like, oh yeah, I didn't. That wasn't the best it could have been this year. Oh yeah. See head shaking, nodding, and then going, oh, it's okay. Take your time. Think about how it could be better. So I really felt like if you didn't catch this message, it's a really good way to kind of wipe. To me, it felt good. Wipe the slate clean. And I'm not one for New Year's resolutions that much, but thinking about, and I don't know if this is really a resolution more so than it is just a thank you, Jesus, for the parts that really did go well, and wow, the ones that we still need a lot of work on. So don't stop on those either. So you look like you wanted to say something. Oh. Did you?
I was nodding and saying,
There was a lot of that this week, so I feel like it worked out well. So yeah, I'm just gonna say The Chosen was my favorite for this year. And where are we headed for 2024? We're starting with
our theme for this year, which is connect. So we're doing all of January. We're doing a 4-part series on what it means to connect from a spiritual and church side of things. We're really taking a look at the Acts 2 early Christian church and how they connected, and so we're taking a dive into that. And then in February, a friend of mine named Andreas Bakai, who's the lead pastor at the Walla Walla University Church, is going to come and speak on the first week in February for our Black History Month. Andreas is a fantastic speaker, great guy. I know everybody's going to just really thoroughly enjoy having him here. And then
that's a good tradition.
Yeah,
we had Puck last year.
Yeah,
from I forget what church.
He's actually he's working. He's working in leadership.
In leadership,
right? In organization within the Seventh-day Adventist organization.
That was a great podcast.
And
we did that afternoon. With him.
He's just phenomenal. He's just a good friend. So this is one of my fun times of year where I get to invite my friends to come hang out with me, and I love it.
Nice.
So anyway, so Andreas is going. We're actually going to be hanging out together, either right before or right after that, because we have meetings that we attend every year together.
Okay, cool.
And he's going to be speaking that week, and then we're jumping into a series right after that. Called Making the Connection. And we're talking about how to connect with people that can be difficult to connect with, sometimes through no fault of their own and sometimes through their own fault. So we're talking about like, how do you connect with somebody who's hurt you? Should you connect with them? So we're going to explore that one. We're going to be talking about how to connect with people that you just don't really click with. We're calling that one when you've lost that love and feeling.
Man.
And so
when you never had that.
And never had it in the first place. So how do you connect? And we all have those people. It's not somebody that's done anything wrong to you. It's not somebody that you don't particularly dislike. It's just
doesn't work.
You're like, how
doesn't feel right. Yeah.
How do I connect there? And then it's like an 8-part. So there's going to be a whole bunch of different. We're talking about connecting across religions. We're going to talk about connecting across cultures. We're talking about how do you connect with somebody in a different socioeconomic reality than you. It can be very difficult if you don't have a whole lot of money to connect with somebody who has a whole lot of money or resources, whatever the case may be, and vice versa.
Yeah,
does God want us to be able to connect with each other? Does it even matter? And we'll be talking about a bunch of that through that series, and it's, again, called Making the Connection. So making the connection across socioeconomic, making the connection across religions, that sort of thing. So,
and you alluded to that you already have one question already for a great question.
We do. Somebody asked a fantastic question about how AI fits into theology.
Yeah, that was a great question. I went ahead and got fast tracked.
Yeah, I got fast. It was so good that I was like, I wanted to do a series on it, but then I just thought, you know what? I'm only brave enough to do one sermon on this one. So we're doing that. And then I'm really super excited. There's a series that we're going to do called the art of worship, and we're going to talk about different art forms and how they're used in worship and how they're used to make connection. People really underestimate how important art is, and sometimes we kind of treat art as like this kind of side part of our worship or whatever, and yet art and we almost treat it like it's wrong that it creates emotions in us, and I think that comes somewhat from the Puritan background of the United States, where we're like, we're kind of afraid of having feelings, and so we're like, well, music that makes me feel a certain way, that's not okay. Well, all music makes you feel a certain way, so unless you get rid of it,
right,
all music is making you feel a certain way. That's kind of what music does.
Yeah.
And the same thing with art when it comes to paintings and photography. We're going to be talking about drama. We're going to be talking about sculpture. We're going to be talking about architecture. One of the things that I don't think we think very much about anymore, but was thought a lot during the Middle Ages was the architecture of churches. It was very specifically done to create an idea of who God was, and we actually see the same thing in Solomon's temple that he builds. We see the same thing in the sanctuary that God has built for him, the tabernacle he has that's portable out in the wilderness. All these things are built purposefully to send messages, and the architecture that we have, the Whole Life Church. When Andy and the group that were here back when this building was built, they actually built Whole Life very specifically. This building's not an accident. It was meant to look the way it does for a specific reason. We'll talk about that during that series. So we're going to talk about the architecture of worship and why it matters and what the point is to it.
I love the art angle.
I think that's going to be a super fun series. Of course, we'll have Voices of Whole Life again. We've got a series we're going to do on the book of Daniel. We're going to do that around election time, and I actually picked that one very purposefully for election time.
There you go.
And I'll just be straightforward. I'm doing it because I think sometimes we get really angsty around election time. We like the whole world is going to, explode and dissolve if the person we don't like gets elected.
Sure.
And you're not wrong. The whole world will explode. Apparently, if you look at in the book of Daniel and you see the statue that's hit in the feet and it goes to dust. And the whole point of that is that God's kingdom is the one that lasts. And the point in my mind of Daniel is that God's in control of everything, and that if we trust in God, kingdoms will come and go, leaders will come and go. God will endure, and so we're going to do that series on the book of Daniel during election time.
Did you order the pot and paddle already?
The pot and paddle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're talking during election season, that's That's stirring the pot, isn't it?
Stirring the pot.
Oh, stirring the pot.
You get a little dry ice in there. And Abel's got some colors, and just give it the call.
So what I was hoping to do was oil and water, smooth things. That's what I was going for more of. But so hopefully it's not the stirring the pot, because that is definitely not what I'm going for.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
All right. Well, I'm glad I know this now, because I've got some planning to do.
Yeah.
If we're going to do special effects.
Yeah.
Start planning.
You got to be on hand. Yeah.
Melanie, we've got. Let's see. I was trying to remember what the summer series was this year. We're doing something that.
We're doing a series for sure.
We're doing a series.
Definitely doing a series.
There's just a lot, and I think one of the cool things, Randy, is that people can actually go to that events page that you were talking about earlier, and they basically in the next couple of weeks they should actually be able to see at least the first half of the year what the sermon is going to be about.
If they go by Friday, they'll have. We don't have the artwork done for every single series.
The graphics are.
But I am working on, just like you see the save the date. There's a worship placard that'll just be like, this is upcoming worship, until we have the graphics done, and then once the graphics, those will get updated. But the actual date, the Sabbath that the message happens on, and then Ken was kind enough to go through and give us a little summary paragraph, so you'll kind of have an idea. Or sentence, yeah. It's a little short, but at least let you know what we're talking about. Yeah. Usually there's the Bible verse to include that, and that is subject to change.
As much as I'd love to write my sermons a full year ahead of time, I'm still not quite there yet.
Okay.
So yeah, but thank you for saying subject to change. All these series are subject to the whim and will of the person who's doing the speaking. So
I think what Ken meant to say is the whim of the Spirit, but
because the person is connected to the Spirit. So there we go. So I'm sorry, I shouldn't have assumed that everybody understood that.
That's awesome.
So I actually only left out 2 series. The other series that
that's pretty good.
The other series that we're doing over the summer, and this is going to be fun, is called The Family That Plays Together.
All right.
And we are going to do a series on different aspects of play. And we're going to actually highlight them every week during the summer by doing something together as a family, as a church family, I should say, where we play together, doing something once a week.
It's almost like we're supposed to connect or something?
Something like that. And then, and so right after The Family That Plays together comes the series called Get to Work.
Oh, man.
That's going to get going in August. So as people go back to school, we'll do our
Get to Work.
It's actually going to be a really fun series on the philosophy of work is worship. And how our work is not simply a vocation, but it's an act of worship. And we're going to be talking about how we can take our careers and our work and turn them into an act of worship.
Regardless of what you do.
Regardless of what you do.
Yep. No, I like that. Man, that's exciting. Look at that. We went through and kind of reviewed everything from this past year, and now you got an idea of where we're going. The events calendar, like Ken, where he said I think you're about 6 months ahead on that with the paragraphs, right?
The paragraphs are all basically through the end of June.
Yeah.
And then actually I think through
might even be July.
Maybe even July. No, through the end of June.
We have all the sermons, so we can get them all up through the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean,
and then the other ones will just come as we get the details and the graphics. But always wholelife.church/events. Everything, as soon as we possibly can, have those up. 2 to 3 months in advance is our goal. Is to always have plenty of stuff so that you can look through, and there's things that we do in partnership with people. There are things that we do just as our own ministries here. The Easter program, all those big things that are coming up, church retreat. And so those are all pretty descriptive in the what's there, and they always have the location, they have the times, and they always have the add to the calendar. And then my favorite one is the share button, which will immediately let you connect it to any of your social media accounts or just text it. And it's like, Christmas communion service. I was like, I sent that to my neighbors and I said, hey, you should come and hang out with us. And it's a super easy way to do it. And then it brings them directly to the nice graphic that's there. Nice. Tells them everything that goes on. So everything in the events calendar is really what you need and to be able to share.
You've done such an awesome job with that, Randy. I love that. That's really great.
Well, you guys have done a great job of sharing everything, sharing the online services and the podcast. So this is just one more way that you can make it easy to invite somebody. And
do we have time for one more thing on the podcast before we close off?
Oh yeah, we're a little early today.
I feel like we could. I thought I'd throw a little tip out to our podcast people. Am I supposed to talk while you're doing that? Oh, I got you. Okay, there we go. I was waiting for you to stop. No, we were. So here's a little tip: if you're watching our worship service online, or if you're worshiping with us in person, either which way, as you heard me tell in the little promo video that I did earlier, be on time, and also really pay attention.
Be on your best lookout this week,
because there is an opportunity that it's not going to be talked about. It's not going to be. You have to actually be paying attention and watching. There's going to be an opportunity to get one of our themed T-shirts.
We have themed T-shirts.
Yeah, we do. All of our staff will be wearing them this next week at church, and there will be that opportunity out there to.
And if you miss it, talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah,
find somebody who's wearing one.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, because they may be able to kind of guide you in the right direction. But we're trying a little. Is it a game? We're kind of trying to a little, a game. Yeah, kind of a game. It's kind of a game we're playing with you, but you have to be observant.
Yeah.
So
because we're not giving it away.
No,
we're just gonna
just a little hint.
Just a little hint
to the podcast people, because you already put in the extra effort.
That's true.
That's true. So you deserve to be rewarded for that.
So you're getting a little sneak peek that others might not. Well, others won't be getting.
And by the way, I mean, whether you're in person or online, this will work for everybody.
Okay. Well, there you have it. I started a little over a year and a half, well, almost a year and a half. It was August so I've been here, the whole calendar year of 2023. And so I feel like I've made we've been through every
full loop.
Yeah, we've
done the first circuit on the racetrack.
The first, 2022 didn't count because that was just nuts from August until the end of the year. And so I feel like I got the first year in. What an exciting time to be a part of the Whole Life family, whether you're staff or whether you are just someone who watches online, someone who attends, all of the above. And so I hope that all the things that we outlined over last year, check out that video again of our year in review. And then the plans are all bigger and better for 2024.
Yep.
And so who doesn't want someone in their life that maybe could just use a little more structure once in a while, maybe a trip to just meet friends. There's going to be a lot of events that you can invite people to. Keep watching the events calendar. And what a great year to say, this person, they've been on my mind. Maybe I should invite them to something. Maybe that's barn party. Maybe that's Easter. Maybe whatever. So, and you guys are great at that. You share everything because our numbers prove that you do. Yeah. And so this is another good way to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. 2023 was great. 2024 is looking bright.
So far, so good.
2 days in, we haven't, and hey, we're even questioning why we do staff meeting, right?
Yeah.
We're evaluating all the things.
We're evaluating everything and to improve everything. So if you can improve an actual weekly staff meeting, I think you can accomplish anything in the entire world.
Absolutely.
Even though our staff meetings are pretty cool anyway.
They're pretty
Gathering
fun.
With Purpose. That's what we're doing.
Intentionality.
Yeah, we're actually reading a pretty good book called Gathering with Purpose, right? Is that the name of it?
My book is in here somewhere.
I can't remember what it's called.
It's right there on the top shelf.
It's called The Art of Gathering.
The Art of Gathering
by Priya Parker. Yeah.
I'll put that in the show notes if you guys want to read and send us.
Staff's reading through that book together right now, and
chapter a week. We hit chapter 1 this week. We talked about it this morning. We're we started evaluating it, and now we're gonna hit chapter 2 next week and talk more.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges for all the staff is for them to start evaluating how they're meeting, and from everything from our worship service down to board meetings to whatever. How are we doing it? Why are we doing it? And are we doing it well?
To those meetings that Randy and
Melanie are supposed to have.
Be having leading
we must gather with purpose, Randy.
We're going to have to reevaluate that. Maybe a fresh cup of coffee will help.
Well, there we go. I was going to say, I already know the purpose for your meeting. So.
Well, there is a hot tumbler of coffee here waiting for us to finish. Okay. And so I'm ready.
All right.
I believe we will meet.
All right.
We will meet.
All right. All right, guys, thank you so much. From the bottom of my heart, the numbers that we had this year were just really amazing. And just to know that we are able to touch your life and you touch ours with your questions, your comments, your emails, kind words, and sharing the podcast with others. It's such a huge outreach, and we really appreciate everything. So thank you. Welcome 2024. Have a fantastic week.